Namaste, everyone. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Angeline, and this is Charlene. And we're going to be doing a yoga practice today. Um, Pretty much just kind of whatever I'm inspired to do. So, mainly want to work and focus on low body with a little bit attention on the upper body as well. So let's go ahead and just get started. We'll close our eyes and come into a nice meditated seat. If you want to sit in hero's pose with a block underneath your sit bones, go ahead and do that, or sit in a simple cross-legged position. Charlene thinks it's time for her to get petted, but it's not. It's time for yoga. We're going to close our eyes. Take a nice deep inhale through our nose. As you breathe in through your nose, you want to fill up your belly and fill up your chest. And at the end of the inhalation, you want the collarbones to lift. And then exhale everything out through the nose, dropping those collarbones, deflating the chest, and then emptying your belly. Here is where we resolve to the practice. We're coming to our mat. Tune out anything, any demands or distractions that the world may be throwing at us at this moment. Devote this time to yourself, to your well-being. If you want to come up with a mantra, or if you want to dedicate your practice to someone, do so now. The mantra that I am choosing for today is, I am at the perfect place at the perfect time. All is well. Remember, in our Yin practice, when we come into our asana, we're only going to where we start to feel sensation, which is about 2/3 or 60% of the pose. And then we want to find that stillness, that place where we can kind of just be still for a moment, allowing our higher self connect with who we are. It's basically where the personality and the higher self, the true self, the spirit of our essence, where they kind of meet and are able to communicate, if we can allow it. If not, no worries, no pressure, something to work towards. And then we just hold that pose for the amount of time we choose. Most of our poses today are only going to be about 2 minutes to 3 minutes long. Stay connected with your breath, using it as an anchor in your asana, which means to help you stay connected to the asana without trying to wiggle your way out or fight yourself while you're in it. The first asana we're going to do today is a nice toe stretch. I like to just bend my toes and then slide them back, and then take the other foot and do the same thing to where the feet line up, the knees line up. And then you could just sit back onto your feet. This can be very intense at first, so if it is, you can come up off of your feet a bit, lean onto your hands, and then sit back again and just press through the bottom of your feet, but you're taking some pressure off by leaning onto your hands. force anything. Don't try to make yourself be in a position that's uncomfortable because you think that's how it's supposed to look or how it's supposed to feel. What you're going for is just to where you start to feel sensation and then you want to breathe into that. So let's lean forward just a bit more, untuck those toes, and then just tap them onto your mat. You can tap the tops of your feet. I like to wiggle the ankles out a bit. And then we're going to lay those feet flat and we're going to sit back onto our heels. If you have a puppy in a way, just work around her. I guess I can pet your belly while we're here. My dog, to me, seems like a cat sometimes. You can lean back onto your hands, lifting those knees up off the floor if you have that range of motion. If not, just lean back onto your heels and your hands a bit. And a nice stretch on the front of your ankles. Oh. She thinks I got her way, but she was in my way first, right, Charlene? So we're just gonna stay here. Now we're gonna come out. Our minute is up. We're gonna lean forward again, tapping those toes, the tops of our feet. So I like to show people what it's like when you have pets. I used to have little ones when I try to practice. They're in their 20s now, so that's not an issue anymore. But you can do your yoga practice with your distractions sometimes and make it work. So we're going to come into a squat, right? If you can squat down with your feet still on the floor, go ahead and do so. If not, I like to use the blanket. Bring the heels in line with the hips. I point the toes out a bit, somewhat, I would say close to a 45-degree angle, if not completely, just about that much. And then you want to sit straight up if you can. I like to press the elbows inside of the knees to kind of open the legs out a bit. You're going to feel a nice stretch in your calves. Sitting back helps to open up the hips some. You want to drop them straight down towards the floor. Again, lift the head towards the ceiling. We're going to be here about 2 minutes, which we're already halfway there, and then we're going to use that breath again. So breathing in through your nose, filling up the belly, the chest, lifting the collarbones, and then releasing everything out. And always breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. If your breath feels a little labored, you can breathe out through the mouth, but it's good to breathe in through your nose. I always think of it as like a filtration system. So as you're breathing in, it's getting filtered. If you breathe in and out through your mouth, it dries out your throat. You're just bringing in whatever's in the environment. So I always like to remind myself, breathe in through the nose. So we're going to lean onto our hands, slowly straighten those legs back, walk your feet together just a bit, again about hip width distance apart. And let's just do a little dangling pose here. You can have those knees bent just a bit. Come back onto our mats. And we're going to take a melting heart pose. So here you want the hips right above the knees, maybe about hip width distance apart, so you want a little space in between your knees. Walk those hands out and then bring your head down towards the floor. We're going to be here 4 minutes. So actually, let's do a half heart melting pose. So with the arms out, bend that right arm across, perpendicular to the front ledge of your mat. Walk that left hand out a bit further, and then you can walk it out to the sides and the arms like in a Y shape. And we're just going to take a few breaths here. And then we'll do the other side for 2 minutes. We're halfway there on this side. You really want the chest to open up and fall towards the mat. The belly is soft. Walk that hand back, and then we're just going to switch sides. So we want to bring that left arm across, rest your head on the back of that forearm, walk the right hand up towards the top ledge of your mat, and then walk it out towards the right. And again, engage in that breathing. Breathing in through your nose, filling up the belly, the chest, lifting the collarbones, and then exhaling everything out. Walk the hand back. We're going to just come up for a little bit onto our hands and knees. The hands are right under the shoulders, knees are right under the hips. Inhale, drop that belly down. Lift the head and tailbone up. And then exhale, round that upper back. Drop the head and tailbone toward one another. Inhale, lift. Exhale. One more time. Inhale, lift the tailbone and head up. Exhale, round that back, dropping the head and tailbone towards one another, letting all that air out. Go ahead and grab your blanket. You don't really need a blanket, but if you do have a blanket nearby, and if you've been working with me, you know I like to use my blanket to sit on. It helps give my hips a little tilt. We're going to come into square pose, and we're just going to be here 2 minutes. So take that right leg in front, flex that foot, take the left leg and put it right on top of that right leg. So you have the left foot flexed as well. If you can't get your knees to the floor, that's okay. You can use your elbows if you want to kind of rest your head on when you clasp your hands, and the weight of your head will press those elbows into the legs and bring them down towards the floor. If that's not going to happen, don't worry about it. You can take the block, bring your head down to the block if you want. If that's too far, you can bring your hands on top of the block until you're able to go down a little bit more. We're just going to breath again, breathing through your nose, exhaling everything out. Gonna inhale and come up, move the block out of the way. Gonna lean back onto your hands, uncross those legs, bringing the feet out in front of you, having those knees bent, and then we're just gonna come into a windshield wiper pose. And then we're just going to set up on the other side. So take that left leg, and you want it perpendicular to the front ledge of your mat. Foot flex. Take the right leg on top. Have that foot flexed. Again, if your knees are not making it to the floor, no stress. Hi, I didn't say we're going to do a pet for Charlene right now. She's like, is there a pet your dog pose? No, there's not. So we're going to inhale, lift. Exhale, fold forward. If your puppy will let you. Hi, can I fold forward, please? And then we're just going to be here for about 2 minutes. Please stop. Very demanding, right? You'll go lay down. She does know how to listen, though. So you're breathing in through your nose and then exhaling everything out. Come back up, move that block out of the way. I'll bring those feet down to the floor, and we're just going to lean back onto our hands. Do a few windshield wipers. Just help that energy move through those meridians and through our body. It's funny because you guys can't see her, but Charlene is over here looking so bored and upset with me right now. So we're going to come into what's called deer pose. So you bring your feet together. Take a nice deep inhale. As you exhale, lean over to the left, bringing that right leg back. You want to bring that foot towards the glute, and you can have your foot pointed or flexed. You want to bring yourself back to the center so your torso is aligned and straight up and down. You don't want to be leaning or slouching. So you can use this hand and to, make your little cupcake fingers, or you can take your block and use your block to prop yourself up. We're going to be here 2 minutes. So again, engaging with your breath, breathing in and out through your nose. That front leg can be as close to the pubic bone or as far out as you need it. Again, remember, we're not trying to overextend anything or push too much. We want to come to where we just start to feel a sensation in our body. Lean over to the left, unwrap that right leg, bring the feet back toward one another, and here we'll just flap our butterfly wings. I like to close my eyes sometimes during my practice. It helps to kind of tune out any distractions, and not so much just to tune distractions out, it's to kind of tune in. It helps me tune into what I'm experiencing and feeling in my body. So inhale, lift through your spine. Exhale, lean over to the right. Bring that left foot back towards that glute. You can walk that knee as far back as you can, or just leave it in the front. You'll notice each side of your body is different. One side may be more loose than the other. Again, use that block or just come up on your cupcake fingers, but you want to center the upper body in the middle, and then we're just going to start breathing in and out through our nose. to the right. Unwrap that left leg, bring it back towards the right. And we're going to lean back and just do our little butterfly wings here. And then we're going to come into a swan pose. So for swan, you want to come up onto your hands and knees. You want the knees to be under the hips, the hands under the shoulders. Slide that right knee towards the right wrist. Walk that right foot towards the left hand. You may need to keep an angle to that shin bone, because if you try to go perpendicular to the top of your mat, it can tweak your knee a little bit and cause some injury. We're going to slide that left leg straight back. You want the hips to be squared. And then we're just going to sink down into the mat. I like to come up on the cupcake fingers, get a nice arch in that low back. And then we'll just start taking a few breaths here, breathing in and out through the nose. And then we're going to come down onto our back of our hands. We're going to come into a sleeping swan. And then we're going to come into a downward facing dog. So you want to come back up, lift back onto those hands, tuck the toes on that left foot, bring that right leg back, match the feet up toward one another with both toes tucked under now. And then we're going to press and lift the hips up towards the ceiling, pressing into our hands. So we'll just take about 3 breaths here. You can walk your dog here if you want, alternating, bending one knee at a time, pressing the heel of the other leg that's not bent towards the floor. One more nice deep inhale, and then exhale everything out, pressing both heels towards the floor, pressing into your fingertips, pushing back into those heels. And then we're going to come back onto the hands and knees, and we're setting up for the other side. So we're going to walk that left knee to the left wrist, bring that left ankle towards the right hand, slide that right leg back. We're going to inhale and lift up. Squaring those hips off, letting them sink down towards your mat. And then we're just going to come back down onto the backs of our hands. Coming into our sleeping swan, remembering to stay engaged with that breath. We're going to come into a downward facing dog here. So tuck those toes on that right foot. Bring that left foot to meet up with that right foot. Tuck the toes on both of your feet. Walk your hands out just a bit. Inhale. Exhale. Press back into your heels, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling. Pressing more into your fingertips than your wrist. You don't want to push a lot of pressure in the palms of your hands. And here we can just walk our dog. Your last exhale, press both heels back towards the floor as you lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Then we're going to come back down. And we're going to come into a saddle pose. Now, saddle pose is challenging for most people, myself included. I'm going to use my yoga wheel for this because I definitely cannot come all the way back down towards the floor. If you don't have a yoga wheel at home, you can use your blocks. So I take the blocks like that, take my blanket, or if you have a bolster. And when you set up for your saddle pose, you want the hips to be able to come right in front of that bottom block. Your feet are going to come out a little bit wider than your hips, and then you're just going to lean back onto that, or as close to it as you can. Since saddle is a little challenging for me, I do about a minute, maybe two if I can. But I really appreciate the yoga wheel for this pose because I don't have to go down as far. So again, knees are close together, feet go out towards the side. You're going to sit back. I'm going to set this for 2 minutes. And then I just lean back, try to line up the wheel. And then I'm here for the time. I need to be able to see my little timer. I like to press the heels of my hand into my where the plantar fascia is on my feet. It just feels like that compression there helps with those meridians on the bottom of my feet. You can press. There's a kidney one is right at the ball of the foot where right under the big toe and where the kind of like, I would say, where the second and big toe meet each other. Like if you were to come down from them, it would be like a little V shape. You feel like a little divot there sometimes. And then just press into that to kind of stimulate that subo point. If you want, you don't have to. You could give yourself a nice little massage in that fascia. slowly come up. So the best way for me to come out of this is to tuck my chin first and then using my hands press myself back up nice and slow, and then come forward, and we'll just do it like a couple cat cows. Just keeping some mobility in the upper and lower spine. You may feel some sensations in your legs where the energy is moving. It may feel like cold water or hot water flowing through the tissue. Our next asana is going to be a happy baby's pose. So let's lay onto our backs. And we're just going to be here maybe a minute. Let's start with our legs straight. Take your right leg, bring in that knee into your chest. Take a few breaths. Now let's switch sides. So bring that left knee into your chest. Inhale. Let's go ahead and take our hands onto the outside of our feet. And we're just going to press into our hands. You can rock back and forth here if you want. Just press the low back into the floor. Feet are up towards the ceiling. Two more breaths. Inhale. Exhale everything out. Inhale. Exhale everything out. Release your feet. And then what we're going to do is a twisted roots. So take your arms out into a T. Bend your knees, press through your feet, shift your hips over to the right. Walk that left leg over towards the right. Take the right leg and cross it over the left. If you can wrap your legs twice, meaning that foot goes underneath the calf, do that here. If you can't, just leave it just like this. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale and drop those legs towards the left. Lift your head up, exhale, and look over that right arm. And we're just going to be here 2 minutes. Inhale, bring the head back to center. Engage your core, lifting the knees up. Walk those feet to the middle. Unwrap that leg. Bring the knees together. Feet are wide. Hands down by your side. We're just going to take a few breaths here. Then we're going to set up for the other side. You can stay right where you're at. I'm just going to shift myself this way. So we want to do the same thing where we shift the hips to the right this time. Cross that. I'm not doing it the right way. Actually, we're going to shift the hips to the left. Walk that right foot over, cross that left leg. Arms are out in a T. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale, drop the knees over towards your right side. Look over that left hand. And we're here for 2 minutes. You want to bring a block underneath the knees to kind of give you a little extra support, you can. I like to use gravity as another force that helps me get into the pose a little deeper. Inhale, bring your head back to center. Engage your core, lift those knees back to the middle. Walk those feet out wide, knees together. Take a few breaths. When you're ready, we're going to come into our Shavasana. So we're going to walk those feet out to the corners of our mat. Tuck those shoulder blades down the mat and toward one another. Hands are down by the hips, about 6 inches away from our hip. You can inhale, look up at your feet. Exhale, bring your head down. And we're just going to be here about 3 to 5 minutes. If you have more time, take as much time as you need in Shavasana. For those of you who have a hard time relaxing into Shavasana, if you want to say a chant or even a prayer or something that kind of keeps you connected in your body, active, but yet you're still giving yourself time to process the work. There is a phenomenon, a sensation, or an occurrence that happens sometimes when we're in Shavasana. We can dissociate from our body, and that can be jarring and upsetting. So, if that should happen to you, please know that you did not do anything wrong, that yoga is not evil or bad. It's just you're learning how to be comfortable with that dissociative experience. That's kind of when we have that communion between the spirit and the personality, the ego, or the self that we are here in this physical realm. And for people who suffer from trauma, that was a survival tactic, and it could trigger a lot of the feelings that you were experiencing and that you tend to repress because of the trauma. So when you dissociate, it could cause you to feel upset. So just know it's one of those things that you have to kind of be mindful while you're in it, that you're safe and that you're okay, and then let those. You may even need to work with a therapist sometimes to be able to really kind of find that truth for yourself, that it is okay to be able to feel relaxed and what that means. So for those of us who love Shavasana, who can be here, we're going to just sit here for a few more minutes, taking our time, relaxing into the support of Mother Earth. Become a less aggressive driver. Where do you get the most uptight? If you're like most people, driving in traffic is probably high on your list. To look at it, or to look at most major freeways these days, you think you were on a racetrack instead of a roadway. There are 3 excellent reasons for becoming a less aggressive driver. First, when you are aggressive, you put yourself and everyone around you in extreme danger. Second, driving excessively is extremely stressful. Your blood pressure goes up, your grip on the wheel tightens, your eyes are strained, and your thoughts are spinning out of control. Finally, you end up saving no time in getting to where you want to go. Recently, I was driving from Oakland to San Jose. Traffic was heavy but moving. I noticed an extremely aggressive and angry driver weaving in and out of the lanes, speeding up and slowing down. Clearly, he was in a hurry. For the most part, I remained in the same lane for the entire 40-mile journey. I was listening to a new audio tape I had just purchased and daydreaming along the way. I enjoyed the trip a great deal because driving gives me a chance to be alone. As I was exiting off of the freeway, the aggressive driver came up behind me and raced on by. Without realizing it, I had actually arrived in San Jose ahead of him. All of his weaving, rapid acceleration, and putting families at risk had earned him nothing except perhaps some high blood pressure and a great deal of wear and tear on his vehicle. On average, he and I had driven at the same speed. The same principle applies when you see drivers speeding past you so they can beat you to the next stoplight. It simply doesn't pay to speed. This is especially true if you get a ticket and have to spend 8 hours in traffic school. It will take you years of dangerous speeding to make up for this time alone. When you make a conscious decision to become less aggressive driver, you begin using your time in the car to relax. Try to see your driving not only as a way of getting you somewhere, but as a chance to breathe and reflect. Remember, rather than tensing your muscles, see if you can relax them instead. I even have a few audio tapes that are specifically geared towards muscular relaxation. Sometimes I pop them in and listen. By the time I reach my destination, I feel more relaxed than I did before getting into the car. During the course of your lifetime, you're probably going to spend a great deal of the time driving. You can spend those moments being frustrated, or you can use them wisely. If you do the latter, you will be more relaxed. And when we're in that relaxed state, that's where all of our healing occurs. So when we're in that more tense state, that's the fight or flight state. That's where we're causing the adrenals to work harder, pumping adrenaline through our body. There's no time to recuperate from stresses, from demands. So it's really important sometimes to just really learn how to give yourself permission and to practice what it feels like to be able to relax. Let's go ahead and bring ourselves back into our bodies. We're going to take a nice deep inhale, but first let's bring our feet together, our arms up overhead, and now inhale and stretch throughout the length of our bodies. And as you exhale, roll over to whichever side feels the most comfortable for you. Take a few breaths here. And when you're ready, you're just going to push yourself back up into a seated position. Take a couple minutes, take a nice deep breath together, inhaling through our nose. And as you exhale, exhale everything out with a sigh. Letting it all go. Again, inhale through your nose. And exhale everything out with a sigh. Just feel the tension melt off of your body. Drop those hands down towards the floor. Inhale, opening your eyes, lift those hands up overhead, bringing them together. Exhale, drop those hands down in front of the heart. Peace and namaste. Thank you everyone for joining me today. And if you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. Every Thursday I put a new video up. I'm open to requests. If anyone has any questions, I definitely would like to make this more interactive. I am wanting to grow as a person, and the best way to do that is by working with other people. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.